Tuesday, December 31st, 2024, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So there's a lot of news concerning China and the US out there, especially as it concerns the financial system, the US Treasury, gold, tariffs. And that's what we're going to cover today. It looks like things are heating up. But before we go into the details of what's going on, just wanted to say, yes, I'm a little later than usual today. So why is that? Did Rudy and I sleep in? No, we didn't. We actually got up really early. And I left the house really early to go play some golf today, the last round of the year. It wasn't supposed to rain, but it did rain a little bit early on, but it was fine. Here in the UK or in England, if you wait for good weather to play golf, you probably will never play golf, so you get used to it. And I enjoyed the round of golf, and I wanted to tell you a story. When I got to the golf club, what time it was, I think it was 7 a.m. Got there really early. We tee off around 8 o'clock. We have a group of guys who play like a swindle. So I get there early to have some breakfast, and I'm sitting down, having a coffee, waiting for my breakfast. And the guy from the pro shop, who runs the pro shop, he comes with this club. And I thought to myself, I didn't order a new club. And he said, oh, Mario, you won one of the prizes in the raffle. I entered a raffle for charity like a month ago for a Christmas charity. And I ended up winning a 50-degree Vokey design wedge. A very nice club. I think it's worth about 160 pounds. So I put 20 pounds down for the raffle. So it was a good return, unexpected. But why am I showing you this? I mean, probably most of you don't play golf and could care less. Well, the reason I'm showing you this is because it's still wrapped, and I'm not sure I'm going to use it because I already have a 50-degree wedge. But it says here, and I'll show it to you here, as you can see. I think it's upside down. Let's put it so you can see. It says the shaft is made in the USA. Shaft made in the USA. The head of the club is made in China, and it's assembled in China, and it's made by Titleist, of course, or Acushnet, which is an American company. So why does the head need to be made in China while the shaft is made in the United States? And why do they have to assemble it in China? So all the talk we hear about sanctions and bringing back manufacturing to the US, is that really going to happen? And I'm not saying it's a serious thing if club manufacturers can't get the parts from China. Even though it could be, it could rattle the supply chain. But I thought that was interesting. But what's going on today? Well, the markets are very quiet. Gold is trading around 26.10. Silver, hasn't been able to get back above 29. It's a bit disappointing, even though it's up substantially year on year. Yes, it has underperformed gold, but I'm not losing hope. I think the supply situation, the deficit situation in silver is getting to be more and more of a problem. And I think the bullion banks and the supply that they create, the paper supply that they create, can't go on forever. And I know we've been saying this for a few years, but if you remember well, back in the 70s, silver didn't go, it did really well. Of course, it went from less than $2 in the beginning of the decade to 50 in 1980. But for one period there between 75 and 78, 79, it was pretty much going sideways. It was only in the last year and a half of the bull market that we saw the big move. Am I saying we're going to see some kind of move like that will last a year and a half, and then things will come back down? No, but what I mean is that one needs to be patient, and if you're not patient, you might as well not be in the stacking of gold and silver, and that's what it is. It's saving, and it's not buying and selling to make fiat dollar profits. And before we look at China and the story that China hacked the U.S. Treasury, I just wanted to say that, yes, things are unsustainable in terms of the major reserve currency or the dollar, and all other fiat currencies, of course, because they're all based on the dollar. They are a derivative of the dollar. And the main reason is that, we've never have had a major reserve fiat currency, and we know that fiat currencies always end in zero. They go towards zero, and people lose faith and confidence in the currency. And but it's not the end of the world. I mean, look at how many countries, especially like Argentina, Brazil, and others, have had several currencies, several collapses of currencies in the last 50, 60 years, and they're still going. The most important thing about the economy is not necessarily the currency, even though, of course, you do need a currency to function in the modern day industrial economy where there is specialization. You need a sound currency that is a sound currency, relatively sound, that holds its value. It's a good method of exchanging goods and services indirectly. It's also a good way of accounting for economic activity. But one of the most important things that we need to realize, it's not the end of the world. Human beings are going to be there still doing things. The planet, the earth, the minerals, the resources are still going to be there. The infrastructure has been built. Yes, it needs to be upkept, but what I'm trying to say is that it's not hard to set up another currency. It's just that it needs to be done the right way, and people need to wake up to the fact that we need some kind of reversion back to sound money, to gold and silver. Unfortunately, for a lot of those of you out there who think Bitcoin can be the solution, I don't think it can be. I think Bitcoin is too volatile to be a steady store of value. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about collapse of the dollar or hyperinflation or anything like that. What I would worry about is having too much of your local fiat currency, too many dollars, pounds, whatever currency you hold in your country. That's what I would guard against, having storing your wealth in the majority of your wealth in these currencies and keeping them in the bank. That's what's going to hurt you, and that's why you need to have hard assets. You need to pay off your debts as well. I think that's very important, because even though the debt could be wiped out, you might not survive paying off that debt during the crisis or in the run-up to the crisis. The other thing you need to keep in mind, I think, as it pertains to a currency revaluation, a collapse or reset, is that you don't want to have counterparty risk in the financial system, because I think a lot of institutions are going to go under, and that's what you don't want. So Clive Thompson has said many times, try to, maybe if you have some savings in the bank, you don't know what to do with it, you don't really want to buy gold or silver, maybe do some home improvements. Make sure your house, your property is up to date. Keep it well, because at the end of the day, it's something that will always be worth something. It's a roof of your head, right? And many other things as well. Help your family if they need to take a course to improve their skills. There's a lot to do. Investing doesn't just mean investing in the stock market. It means investing in yourself and your assets as well. So that's what I wanted to say. It's not the end of the world, even though it sounds like I'm calling for the end of the world sometimes when I talk about the fiat currencies. And I've been warning people, actually since 2007, I've written about it, how all fiat currencies are sinking, and they're going to continue to sink in terms of purchasing power. And the reason gold and silver are a good way to hold or save your purchasing power is that they have a track record of thousands of years, and it's very hard to create or conjure up gold and silver out of thin air. Of course, the bullion banks have been doing it, but I think that game is almost over, and I think China is going to be instrumental in disrupting this game of keeping the dollar overvalued versus gold, keeping the power of the fiat dollar so that the U.S. empire can keep going. And that's been happening not just vis-a-vis China, but vis-a-vis a lot of the BRICS countries and other global South countries. So what's going on in terms of China and the Treasury, U.S. Treasury? Well, this story came out yesterday. It's here on Bloomberg. It came out elsewhere as well. It says, U.S. Treasury says it was breached by Chinese-backed hacker. Hacker accessed Treasury workstations, unclassified documents. Treasury says no evidence hacker continues to have access. So what is this about? If it's not that serious, why they're talking about it? Did it even happen? Could it be a false flag? I don't know. Could it be the beginning of instilling in people's mind that we might have what Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum called a few years ago a cyber pandemic, where everything goes dark and the markets shut down? It's possible. They could be setting us up for that. So it's interesting as well, because recently, I think December 27th, Janet Yellen has been warning about the Treasury hitting new debt limit by mid-January. And it says here, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said her department is likely to begin taking special accounting maneuvers sometime in mid-January to avoid breaching the U.S. debt limit, and urged lawmakers to take action defending the full faith and credit of the U.S. On January 2nd, 2025, the new debt limit will be established at the amount of outstanding debt. So they suspended it, I think, a couple of years ago at a much lower level than it is now. So on January 2nd, let's see, they're going to set the new ceiling probably just above 36.2 trillion. That's where we are right now. And then Yellen is going to use special measures that she could keep using till the middle of, well, it says January 14th. So it's all kind of, is it a coincidence? Are they trying to set things up in a way that they can blame the Chinese for trouble. Who knows? But the interesting thing is that China, be it the central bank and the general public, are continuing to buy a lot of gold. They're also continuing to divest from U.S. Treasuries, de-dollarization. Yesterday, there's an article here from Reuters. China's November net gold imports via Hong Kong hit 7-month high. So this is like the public. There might be a little bit of gold going into the Chinese central bank, but that's usually done through Beijing or Shanghai. And we know that Yen Neuenhaus reported that in October and September, if you look at the customs data, it looks like the Chinese government imported about 115 tons. And they also recently have come out officially and said that they started buying gold again, the PBOC. They had stopped in May of this year. And they said, of course, that it was only about 5 tons. But I think there's a lot more going on in terms of gold accumulation by China. And I also wanted to touch upon the incoming Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, not sure how you pronounce it. He said in an interview prior to the election, sometime in early November, that he feels that we are on the cusp of a Bretton Woods like realignment of currencies. So it's all really interesting. If you need a realignment of the monetary system in the world, you need the top 2 countries to sit down and negotiate. That's very much necessary. And also the EU, of course, it's one of the major economic blocs. So I'm not sure what the current administration is playing at with the talk of Chinese hacking the U.S. Treasury, and I'm not sure if the incoming administration is going to play along with that, because you can't really have a financial war and expect to sit down with your enemy to negotiate. So it's all getting really uncertain, and and we're also seeing that the U.S. Treasury is having, well, they're not having trouble yet, but they could, with $7 trillion in debt coming due in 2025, and with long-term rates rising. Yes, they have come off in the last couple of days, but they're still really high. I think the debt service is now like $1.1 trillion. Bond market, the U.S. Treasury market, is probably the most important, well, it is the most important market in the current financial monetary architecture. It is the base for the whole system. It is supposed to be the risk-free rate of return. It is supposed to be the safest asset, even though I personally don't buy it. I think gold and silver are the safest monetary assets. But if we have trouble, if the U.S. Treasury has trouble financing its operations, and if it has trouble keeping also extending the debt ceiling or even scrapping it. There's been many people who have said, even Donald Trump, that we should scrap, well, the Treasury and the United States should scrap the debt ceiling. You've had it since 1960 and it's been raised 80 times. But the flip side of that, with no debt ceiling, is going to make it even easier for Congress to spend and spend and spend. And I think, unfortunately, that's going to be the way things are going to keep going, even under a new administration. The only way this will stop is if investors, not just domestically, but internationally, lose the faith and confidence in the system, because it's based on faith and confidence. There's nothing solid. There's no gold backing behind it. I like to wish everyone a very happy new year, a very healthy new year, and a very prosperous new year as well. Yes, it's just a number. Ultimately, I think the most important thing is to live one day at a time as if it was your last day on this planet. Don't waste the day. Do as much as you can, and of course, also you don't have to keep doing things all the time. You can relax and as the Italians say, you can have a bit of dolce far niente, which is just sit down and do nothing. I hope you all have a great time, and I'll talk to you later. Yes, take care. Bye.